Welcome everyone to the Bliss and Purpose podcast. We're your hosts, Matt and Veronica, and today we're talking about our relationship realizations after 5 years. I'm Matt, and I've been on a deep journey the last 10 years to understand life and find my purpose. I have a background in men's work, and I'm currently focused on empowerment coaching. And I'm joined by my beautiful little donut wife, Veronica.
He calls me his little donut. It's his new name. I love it. My inner child is like, yay! I love donuts. Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Veronica and I'm a life coach. And I specialize in helping people to reconnect with their emotions and in a compass which leads them directly to the higher purpose. And we wanted to share this topic today because an important part of our relationship is to be really conscious and aware how we are relating together, and our goal is actually to become really peaceful together in our interactions, but also, as David Data calls it, to create a intimate communion. Yes. So where basically yes, you are a team and you really treat each other with respect and kindness, but there's also a strong masculine and feminine polarity where you really surrender into your respective polarity and really understand, what it is about. And I think that is sort of like the next step for us. Yeah, and we always love to share about this because I do think that a lot of the problems in our world come because people are so unconscious in their relationships, and we are social beings, we are a social species, and relationships are really at the core of our well-being, and I even think that I always talk about the war that has been going on for thousands of years between men and women. What I mean with that is that the masculine and the feminine, or it's more people, think that there's actually a battle, that someone has to win. But of course, no one can win this war, because ultimately what we really want is to, love each other, and we are fascinated by each other, right? That's why women and men find each other so attractive. And so we really want to contribute that people understand this very much, that at the end of the day, it's really about coming together and enjoying each other and liking each other's difference. I love everything that's masculine about Matt, and I want to move away from this feeling that his masculinity is somehow threatening me. Yeah, so Matt, I think you wanted to share a little bit about our story, how we met, how everything started for us.
I did, yeah. So I can take you on a story of a time long ago, just over 5 years ago. I was quite lost during this time.
When was it? I think it was December 2017 we met in...
Yeah, we met in Mumbai in India, yeah. I'd gone through a relationship breakup about a year and a half before that, I think. That was sent me on quite a journey of discovery, let's say. It brought up many things in me. I questioned lots of stuff, and it led me down the road of philosophy, trying to find meaning, I guess, on a sort of big phase. I was travelling, and I went to India, a one-way ticket, and had no goal of what that was going to look like and what I'd find. I wasn't looking for anything specific, I guess you could say, but I went on the journey there. But I very quickly met Veronica, very unsurprisingly. Surprisingly. Or maybe not.
Your higher self knew exactly.
maybe some part of me knew that she was out there, this mysterious person. So we met, and that really started a whole new course direction of my life, actually, which I wasn't really looking for, but something about meeting her felt really right. I often felt misunderstood by people, let's say, and sometimes lonely in relationships with women, intimate relationships, but also with friendships as well. But with Veroni, it felt very different. I felt that she really understood me, and she got me, and her kind of direction seemed very aligned to mine. I'd love to say it was all fireworks and excitement and like perfect, but that was not the case. No, it was not the case. The relationship was really started like a really strong friendship between us, and there was feelings on my side, but yeah, Veronica was also going on her journey, and it took some time, I think, as well for her to kind of realize what she wanted and what kind of felt right for her as well. Without trailing into it like so much, we eventually really decided that this thing worked really well together, and yeah, we committed to each other to make something beautiful that we knew was there, and yeah, ever since then it's been a beautiful journey with her.
Oh, really touched. Yeah, so just maybe a brief story. What then happened was that after India, so we stayed there like half a year. We also were a little bit in Nepal, and I was also a little bit in Myanmar with a friend, and then we moved to London for a year, which was really cool because I think we both wanted to experience the big city life, because we were both from really small towns. And yeah, it was great. It was a really cool experience, but after one we were like, oh my gosh, this is so intense. And then Matt got this crazy offer, like really like insane. I think it was 3 times the money or something. It was like something.
It was over double, yeah. My salary was going to be doubled, yeah.
It was just like this insane number that you would never, ever even have thought about, possible. So he worked for a Dutch bank. And yeah, so we moved to Amsterdam. Man, I was so excited because I always loved Amsterdam. It was one of my favorite cities in Europe. Like, many people just know, like kind of like as the weed smoking city, but it's a beautiful, like, such gorgeous city. And yeah, so we lived there for half a year. Then kind of like, we moved to Utrecht, which is also in the Netherlands. Then lockdown happened. Then the Dutch cities were not very desirable anymore because it was really about, being outside and enjoying the life. Mm-hmm. And then we went to Portugal in lockdown, actually, which was a great decision because as an expat, we were kind of like quite free there. We stayed there a year, and then we decided to move back to England, but this time to the countryside where right now we still are. And then also last year we got married in October. And we got married in Bavaria, where I'm from. Yeah. And we had a really traditional wedding with, really so much fun. There was lots of dancing. We did circle dancing, which my mom is really into. And we had a Bavarian tradition called hijacking the bride. It was so fun. All the English guests really loved it. They said they never have been to such an entertaining wedding. But we also had lots of spiritual elements. We had like crystals and frequency paintings, and we really made sure that there's a really high vibe. And it was really really fantastic wedding. It was such a beautiful occasion, and we both definitely believe in traditional marriage and committing.
But we didn't always, maybe that's important to say. We didn't always. That kind of came later in our relationship, actually. I think in our relationship it came as we saw really the importance more of, we talked about communion and family. And I think for us, being married became a bit of a symbol for that, actually. A symbol of, connection and being seen as more of a family unit as well. Yeah.
I mean, for us also it's because we are from different countries and because we have quite a traveling lifestyle. During lockdown, suddenly we became really afraid that maybe, we would, for example, let's say they tell us we have to leave Portugal, but then he wouldn't be allowed to come to Germany with me, or I wouldn't be allowed to come to England with him because we are not an item, we're not like legally recognized as being in a relationship. And that frightened us. So we thought, okay, what kind of like protection can you get that is basically recognized in all countries, and that is marriage. So in that sense, for international couples, it's actually a really, really good step. But for me, it also goes deeper than that, because in the last years, especially, like, I used to be very, like, progressive, and I didn't understand very well what so let's talk about my perspective as a woman. I didn't really know what actually is important to the feminine, and what I think many people don't understand also about marriage is that it actually creates a lot of safety, especially for the feminine, because we are the more sensitive and vulnerable of the two sexes. And when you are in a marriage with a loving man, it can really give you this feeling that he is really there. You know, he's committed, he's fiercely protecting you, holding you, and of course also your children. And I think that this is something that we as modern women often don't want to admit how important it is actually, and it, I think, can relieve a lot of relationship games if there is this level of protection and safety for the feminine especially. But also in terms of men, like for example, I had a client and she was absolutely convinced that kind of like all modern men only want to play around, you know, have non-committed relationships, have open relationships, all that stuff. And I was like, do you think that's really true? And then as an experiment, she like changed on, you know, these dating apps her filters, and she was like actually like showing, you know, that she actually wants a committed relationship. And she had so many dates with guys who was like, I'm not interested in anything you know, vague. I want to date with the goal of finding a partner, a long-term partner. And she was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do that earlier? So actually, you know, many men are also longing and looking for this, because it also gives the masculine a great purpose to have a woman in their lives that they care for, to have children at some point. It often, you know, creates this feeling in a man that he actually becomes a man. And so these are all the things that I love about being married, and that I also want to help bring forth more in this world.
That's very beautiful.
And you, Matt, like what is your feelings and thoughts about marriage?
I mean, I shared a bit about them already. I think it's a beautiful, symbolic act you can do together. But as you also discovered, it's much more than about the two of you actually when you get married. It's actually really a lot about your families, your lineage, the bringing together of cultures and people actually. So it really goes beyond the couple actually, a lot more than I realised for sure. And that alone was really nice, reflective time to think about the heritage, where I've come from, the family I want to create, and how my lineage will also move forward. So this was all unexpected parts of it, which I really like. And I really like wearing the ring. I have a bit of a kind of a rapper in me that likes wearing gold. I have a gold ring. And get a matching gold necklace as well, maybe for it.
Yeah.
I'm blinged up.
It's really beautiful. And you also had a bit of a spiritual experience when we got legally married, because how we did it basically was that in Germany, like you the only way to get legally married is in the registry office, or pretty much. So most people do it, they go to the registry office one day, and then the other day they go in the church, and then usually in the church, you know, everyone else comes. But because we are not religious, and I don't like the church particularly, we decided to do a spiritual marriage, you know. So we had a friend of my family who was like a really very, you know, beautiful woman who knows how to create a sacred space. We had her do a ceremony for us where we would also exchange our own vows, and it was really beautiful. So on Wednesday we got legally married in the registry office, and then on Saturday we got spiritually married and had a wedding celebration with all our friends and family there. But in the registry office you had a spiritual experience. Would you like to share about that?
I did, yeah. I have spiritual experiences roughly one a year. Hope sometimes more, but roughly that pace. Always very unexpected. We would, as Bernie said, we're doing the legal marriage. We were it was a nice space actually in Erding.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a translator there with us, so they do it in German, and then they would translate it to English for me. So for the context, I can't understand German, let's say Bavarian either. I can't understand at all. They'd always do the German first, but then during the point of the, let's call it the ceremony. Would you call it a ceremony? The ritual, or whatever. They're speaking the words. The woman was speaking German, and I felt something happen around us with me and Verity. She was on my right side, and I felt like this container came and like pulled us both and pulled us closer together, like kind of a bubble came around us. Very interesting. Wasn't kind of looking to feel anything, I wasn't feeling the moment, but this was really special and really felt that. And then almost immediately after that, the English translation said, "Oh, okay, and now you're legally married." But it happened before that, because the German person had already initiated that just before. But I didn't realise, I couldn't understand the German. So something definitely happened. It felt like when we actually were legally married. It's not just signing a piece of paper and putting us on a sort of electronic file somewhere. There is a spiritual aspect to that. There's a containment to it. There's a connecting of people. A bond is made, and I really felt that in that moment, actually, and it was quite special.
Yeah, and we did a course in law a year ago or so, and they really talked about that. As you know, everything has a spiritual connection, and law as well, and of course also the spoken word. So your spoken word means a lot. If you say "I do," I commit to this person, it is powerful. That's why also, for example, even if you say you don't want to get legally married, you can also just do a love celebration and really speak and commit to each other. Say, okay, even in hard times, I really want to show you my love and be there for you. That's powerful, because of course sometimes relationships are so difficult. So this kind of like reminder is really, really powerful. Yeah. Oh, that was so beautiful to remember all these things with you.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe let's talk about the realizations.
Yes, I've been waiting for. I'm waiting to talk about my mum trauma. We're 20 minutes in, she hasn't been mentioned yet. Oh yes, now it's time. So my biggest realization is well, anyone that's been in multiple relationships will always find that there's patterns, right? There's always a pattern in relationships, and you can kind of take it in two different ways. You can think, oh, why am I lucky? Why do I always meet the same person? Why does it have the same kind of blueprint always in relationships? And then, if you want to be real about it, it's because what you're really doing is you're meeting your mum again on some level. I didn't know that. I had no idea that was the case. Before us with Veronica, I had two kind of, let's say, serious relationships. It was my third. And then quickly into a relationship, I was like, oh no, it's the same kind of patterns are there again. The same things that I found the most frustrating, in other relationships. And I was like, why the hell is that? I didn't know. I was uninitiated into life. So for me, understanding about trauma was a massive realization, and that for me really took place in a relationship. I mean, it comes on to the second point I want to make, and that's really how you can use relationships as the biggest growth, personal development growth vehicle around, because it does create a mirror for you in a relationship with your childhood trauma and things that happened. So my understanding really is that you will always find someone with what you found the worst characteristics of your mum to be, because these are the unhealed parts of you, and on a subconscious level you're always looking to heal these and resolve these. So for me, really understanding that on a really deep level and taking action around healing these aspects, for me that's been the biggest thing this relationship has really done for me. Yeah.
Wow, that's really beautiful. Yeah, that's a profound realization, and that there's also nothing wrong with it, because you are, I believe you're born in a family, that you choose to be born in this family, and that you choose to make all these experiences around your parents for a specific reason, to have deep realizations about yourself and about life and to learn essentially. But of course, very often they create wounds within us, and so with our partner, it's actually a chance then to heal those wounds. But there's also a distinction to be made between, I call them like trauma relationships and healthy relationships, because with Matt and I mean, of course, we also had unhealthy patterns, and there were some moments, where we were really mean to each other, like, pretty much every couple. And of course, we are really striving to change that, right? We are striving to treat each other like, the king and the queen, to be really respectful and kind, because, he's literally the person who chooses to live life with me. I want to treat him like he is, everything to me. But yeah, sometimes I slip into these patterns when I'm stressed and anxious and worried. Then my protector parts take over and they can become very mean. But yeah, we are actively choosing to shift this. So it's still a conscious space, even though it has sometimes, we could say kind of like abusive or traumatic elements. But then there's also relationships which I call trauma relationships. You can also say toxic relationships. So those are really with people that are meant to teach you something, but a relationship building is not possible because you are triggering each other's trauma on such an intense basis, and very often you're also just not ready to be together. You're not mature enough. There is not actually real healing possible because of so much clashing. Those are those typical relationships where there's constant playing games, of course, maybe even abuse, really unhealthy behaviors to taking drugs, being super risky, being really hurtful in sexuality, like so many aspects of this. And you will still, meet, your mom or your dad within your partner, but there's not really a chance to actually turn around, and actually heal those, because the relationship itself is too broken. You are not compatible actually to create a safe space together, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it really comes down to a choice, because a relationship's always going to be a way to develop yourself. It's always going to be like that, and the choice really is, do you want to lean into that and use it in that way, or do you want to live it subconsciously where your shit and their shit's going to play out on a subconscious level and it's just going to be a mess? For me, the only choice is really to embrace this and use the relationship in this way, because it can be a really beautiful way to connect and bond and heal together.
Yeah, exactly. And as Matt already said, you really can't run away from that. It will always express itself in this way. When there is attraction, there will be some element of your parental trauma involved. That's just how it is. Mm-hmm. But also, that's what we always say, right? That it's also the greatest vehicle of growth.
That's right.
If you want to become like a badass, like leader and like the best version of yourself, through relationship work, it will help you like so much become a mature and really like developed, interesting person, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think this is an interesting point to make. So I've talked about my mum a lot here. So what I found in my journey was my mum, let's say, the work I need to do showed up much more in my relationship with Veronica. That was really where it was, because you could say the feminine is all about relationship. That's my first experience of nurturing and nourishment was from the mother, right? Issues around my dad, they're not so prevalent with the relationship. For me, dad stuff was more like a personal thing, individual. It wasn't about relationship. It was about me, you could say, in isolation in the world to some extent. You could say, who am I? What am I doing? So I think that's nice note to make, because that's not the case for some people. Some people, dad stuff will be there also, but for me, it wasn't so much in a relationship. I don't know if do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe only I was just thinking when you said this, for example, how you are able. No, that's not true actually. I was just thinking how you are. Sometimes find it hard to hold contact with people, but I think your dad is actually. I'm not sure how he is doing that. Yeah, anyways. I think you will probably have a lifetime of exploring those elements within you.
Yeah.
So, what is another relationship realization that we had?
I think I also, when in maybe the start of our relationship, when we first came together, I think I was a bit under the illusion that if I've got a really good, perfect relationship, then I have no more worries or issues in life. Yeah, it's funny, but I think on some level that I did believe that a bit actually. I thought that if I've got the perfect relationship, I'm with someone that really loves me and supports me and all of these things, that my life will be complete in some way, that there'll be no other kind of issues and things won't be that'll be complete, let's say, that I don't need any more nourishment in life. That also was not the case, not fully. It's a beautiful thing, and yeah, certainly my needs are met, and that's amazing, but yeah, an amazing relationship alone is you need more in life as well.
Yeah, for me it was completely the same, and of course it's what's totally getting sold to you in, all the movies and books, and it's a big narrative that's the end goal. But for me, because right now my topic is a lot around friends, because I'm super happy in my relationship with Matt. Of course we have our issues and we're working with it, but in general I really feel like he is, really, we are really one secure item together, and that's beautiful. But so my topic right now is more friendships and how to, because I'm longing really for a group, for my tribe, and that's what I find more difficult. So yeah, I've been realizing that Matt fulfills so many of my needs, and that's beautiful, but he can't all, and especially of course not with feminine friends, but even with the masculine, because there's just men that are different than him, and I don't want to, have a thing with them or anything, but it's nice for me to be around them because they just have a different energy than him, and I love the masculine, so, I mean, I'm super grateful. I actually have good masculine men in my life, like my brother, my cousin, a few of Matt's friends, we get on really well. But of course the feminine Matt can really not substitute, especially not hanging out with groups of women. I mean, that's just such a feminine energy that is like a medicine for me. Yeah, so, and then, but also another point I wanted to add is that, in general with life, there is no end point. Like, as soon as, let's say you have a desire to be a millionaire, as soon as you will be a millionaire, you will like it, but then very soon you will have new desires, because that's how life also works. So it's very much an illusion, that when you reach all your current goals, then there's this space when you're just happy and you don't want anything anymore. That's not how life works. So we have to become really relaxed and also realize that, because of course I understand there's pain around not having your desires fulfilled. But essentially, I think as you grow older, you also start realizing that really the journey is the way, and that's completely okay. And of course also that creates a really rich life in you, because our desire was to have like a fixed base, which we had the last 1.5 years in England, but now we are just starting to desire to travel again. So, everything that we wanted to have, we have now kind of like, but it doesn't feel good anymore, so we change our desires.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I think we'd like to come to an end point now, and I think there was a lot there in this episode around relationship realizations. I think we also talked very nicely about, marriage and commitment. I think that was also a huge realization for us. Also around the feminine masculine dynamic, how it can change when you have actually someone committed in your life. So yeah, there was a lot of realizations over the years. But yeah, if you're interested, we are really happy to, of course, talk more about this, because this is also a topic that we are very conscious of.
Yeah, it's so nice to be reflective as well on these things always. Yeah, and feeling more clarity.
Yeah.
More direction as well, so it's always nice.
Definitely. All right, guys, it was beautiful connecting with you. If you liked this episode, share it with your friends, and spread the word. And yeah, it was really nice spending time with you here with the Bliss and Purpose podcast. Thank you, Matt, so much for connecting with me and sharing your heart.
No problem.
All right. All the best, guys. Bye-bye.